As a culmination of art and technology, video games as a medium keep changing and evolving, perhaps more so than most other entertainment mediums out there, which means that there's hardly ever a long stretch of time in this industry where we go without new ideas to surprise and delight audiences. The 2000s decade in particular was one that saw creativity in the industry at its peak, with developers specializing in a multitude of ideas, delivering some of the best and most ingenious gameplay mechanics we've ever experienced, with some that persist to this day. Here, we're going to talk about a few such mechanics. Before we go ahead, please consider subscribing to our channel. We upload new videos every single day, and your support really helps us out. With that out of the way, let's start. EVs and IVs, Pokemon. With Generation 3, the Pokemon series introduced EVs and IVs and completely changed the metagame, governing individual base stats and their values, and collectively allowing for massive variation even within a single species of Pokemon. EVs and IVs have since then become crucial to the underlying mechanics that dictate how players catch their Pokemon, raise their Pokemon, and battle with their Pokemon. Sure, it's still entirely possible for someone to do an entire playthrough of a Pokemon game and not engage too deeply with EVs and IVs, but especially where the competitive scene is concerned, these are crucial. Active Reload, Gears of War. Gears of War released in 2006 and spawned an entire subgenre of third-person shooters, and while we could sit here and talk about any number of revolutionary things that it introduced, such as its stop-and-pop cover mechanics or even its chainsaw duels, the one thing that the series introduced that sticks out in memory even today is active reloads. It's such a simple mechanic, but genius in its simplicity, making even the simple act of reloading an active part of the combat to make sure that you're always engaged. Active reloads haven't changed much since they were introduced over a decade ago, but then again, they don't really have to. Their simplicity makes them timeless. The Gravity Gun, Half-Life 2. Valve has always excelled at creating games around a single mechanic and using that idea to craft excellent moments. In the seminal Half-Life 2, that mechanic was the gravity gun. Physics were crucial in the game, and the gravity gun was the perfect foil for that, turning every moment in the game into a compelling brain teaser, whether that was combat or puzzles or anything else. Like most gameplay mechanics that stand the test of time, it struck the perfect balance between simplicity and ingenuity. Rhythmic Combat, Batman Arkham Asylum. The Batman games, and even superhero games at large, weren't anything to write home about until a little over a decade ago, with some exceptions of course. But 2009's Batman Arkham Asylum changed everything. Putting you in the shoes of the Caped Crusader, it gave you the ability to do everything Batman could do in the best way possible, and that included beating thugs to a pulp. Arkham Asylum's brawler combat may not have required too much skill, and it may not have had incredible depth, but it was incredibly fun. From its simple controls to the feedback you got with each hit, to how each fight looked like it was choreographed, it was an incredible combat system. Social Links, Persona 3. Atlus Persona series might be huge now, but it wasn't until its third outing that it reinvented itself and carved out the identity that now defines these games. And at the heart of the experience was its slice-of-life mechanics, driven first and foremost by social links. Interacting with the varied cast of main and secondary characters and gradually improving your relationships with them over time wasn't just a boon for the story and storytelling, it also tied into gameplay and progression in multiple ways, allowing the disparate parts of the experience to synergize in truly surprising ways. Corpse Runs, Demon Souls. Dark Souls may have popularized the Souls-like formula, but Demon Souls was the one that, of course, created it. Corpse runs are so crucial to that formula, and From Software nailed the execution of that idea in their very first attempt in Demon Souls. The game balanced its challenging difficulty and the fact that players would die a lot by allowing you to head to the place where you died last and recover the progress that you lost. It's an idea that's been adopted by a vast number of games since then, and it's easy to see why. Camouflage, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Metal Gear Solid games have always been incredible stealth experiences since the moment the series was first born, and each new game introduced new mechanics and flourishes to lend further mechanical depth to that experience. In Metal Gear Solid 3, we got something that is still one of the best playing stealth games ever made, and camouflages were a huge component of that game. Changing out your coma suits and your face paint to allow you to blend into different environments a little bit better as you snuck past enemy lines with nary a trace that you were ever even there achieved the excellent effect of making you feel like a badass, highly trained spy, which of course is exactly what Naked Snake was. Bullet Time, Max Payne. Remedy Entertainment has a knack for creating games with an incredible sense of style, and that of course was true for the game that put them on the map, Max Payne, as well. In Max Payne, that sense of style manifested as bullet time, which allowed players to slow down time to a crawl, dodge around hails of gunfire, and shoot out bullets in slow motion at enemies while leaping through the air. Not only did it look incredibly cool, it was also outrageously fun to do, no matter how many times you did it. ATTACHE Case, Resident Evil 4. Inventory management has always been a key pillar of the Resident Evil series, but in the reinvention that was RE4, it took on a new form as well. Key items were no longer part of the inventory, and players instead had to manually place everything in Leon's briefcase. It was essentially a Tetris minigame, tasking players with placing items in the grid-based box, and really, it was a perfect evolution of the inventory management from previous RE games. The ATTACHE briefcase is back in Village, so obviously Capcom sees its value as well. Motion controls, Wii Sports. At the beginning of the 7th console generation, while Sony and Microsoft were moving into HD visuals and online gaming, Nintendo decided it was going to tear up the rulebook and get a little nuts. They introduced the Wii's waggle controls, and the game they made to show off what its motion controls were capable of was Wii Sports. Never before has a bundled game been as wildly popular as Wii Sports, perfect for everyone regardless of whether you're a core gamer or someone who has a passing interest in the medium. It was simple, it was instantly accessible, and it was a hell of a lot of fun. Celestial Brush, OKAMI. OKAMI is an unabashed work of art, and the Celestial Paintbrush is responsible for so much of that. The perfect foil for the game's watercolor aesthetic, the paintbrush was the spine of the entire experience. From puzzles to combat to traversal, this ingenious mechanic defined OKAMI from start to finish, and throughout the game's long runtime, it never got old. It was even better in fact if you played the game with motion controls. Scanning, Metroid Prime. You wouldn't think that something as simple as scanning would deserve any special praise, especially given how much of it we see in games nowadays, but in Metroid Prime it was a revelation. From learning more about the alien world of Talon 4 to determining the strengths and weaknesses of enemies, from using it to solve crucial environmental puzzles to picking up bits and pieces of compelling lore and backstory, Samus's scanner was central to Metroid Prime in more ways than one. Takedowns, Burnout 3 Takedown. Even to this day, there are very few racing games out there that can hold a candle against the masterpiece that was Burnout 3 Takedown, and so much of that game's excellence comes from one single mechanic. The titular takedowns have become almost a staple in the arcade racing genre by now, and it's easy to see why. They were a complete game changer. So viscerally fun, so incredibly exciting, so exciting to pull off. Takedowns were the unadulterated essence of Burnout 3, which is to say that they're probably the single greatest thing any racer has ever had or ever will have. The Dialogue Wheel, Mass Effect. Dialogue options have been a thing in RPGs for as long as RPGs have been around, but Mass Effect went about it in a different way. As it sought to strike the perfect balance between making Shepard a character of their own and allowing players to have agency over how they reacted to a situation, BioWare introduced the dialogue wheel, where each option would give you a general idea of what sort of response you were going for, but Commander Shepard would have the freedom to add their own style, personality, and flourishes. It was an incredible system that set out exactly what it needed to do, and is a crucial component of what defines Mass Effect. Portals from Portal. Yes, another Valve game. And frankly, we're surprised portals from, well, Portal haven't been replicated a million times over since they were first introduced as an idea back in 2007. Not only is it an incredibly cool concept on paper, the way it's implemented in gameplay does complete justice to that concept as well, allowing the game to deliver mind-bending puzzles that strike just the right balance between freedom and rigidity. Now that Valve is making actual games again, we're hoping we get to see more of these in the not-too-distant future. And with that, we've reached the end of this video. Have anything to say? Let us know in the comments below. Also, we upload new videos every single day on GamingBolt, so please consider subscribing, as it really helps us out. Thanks for watching.